Hi everyone, Derek Cooper here. Today I want to talk to you about a misconception that I see amongst players fairly often, and that is that the lie angle of the club at address is very different to the lie angle of the club at impact. A lot of players think that's the same, gets them into trouble when they're swinging the club and getting into the address position. So I'll talk to you a little bit about what the differences are. It'll help you with your own game, hit the ball more solid, and also to set the club a little better in the backswing. So what we see first of all is that I've brought out a lie board here today. I wanted to show you how a club sits on the ground. So what we're looking for is when the club sits on the ground at impact, we want to get the entire sole of the club flat on the ground. If you get too much of the toe into the ground, what's going to happen is the toe of the club will hit the turf first, the heel will tend to keep moving and the ball will tend to go to the right. If you get the heel of the club into the ground first, the heel will hit the resistance and the toe will keep moving, and then the ball will go too much to the left. So ideally at impact we want to get the club sitting flush on the ground like that, and that will happen if your clubs are correctly fitted, number one, and then number two, if you're moving your body and club correctly through impact. And I'm going to show you how to do that right now. So here I am, I've moved over so that we can have a look at the difference between address and impact. Now when you set up for your address position, we want to have knees flexed slightly, bending forward from the hips, keeping the back fairly straight, and then the arms hanging from the body. So to do that, when you set up to the golf ball, what you're actually going to find is that the toe of the club is going to sit off the ground very slightly, so the club will actually rest on the heel of the club. So a lot of players I see want to get into the address position, try and sole the club flat on the ground, and they get their posture too upright and the wrist set too high at address, making it very difficult for them to then set the club correctly in the backswing. So at address we're looking for toe of the club to be off the ground slightly with the club resting on the heel, and there should be some angle between the forearms and the shaft at address. Then what happens when we come into impact, there's a couple of things that are different. Number one, the lower body has rotated through, so my hips are now turned more towards target. In doing that, my hands are going to be slightly higher at impact than what they were at address. Those two things, coupled with the fact that the shaft is actually going to flex this way during into impact, is going to take the toe of the club down, and that's when the club is going to sit flush on the ground at impact. So again, we're looking at address is here, and then impact is there. Hands are much higher, club is now flat on the ground. At address, the toe is up, flat on the ground at impact. So keep that in mind next time you're practicing and playing. You want to have the toe of the club off the ground slightly at address so your hands can set correctly. It's going to make it much easier for you to set the club correctly in the backswing, and then through impact that's when the club's going to level out and be flatter through the ground, and it's going to even out your divots and help you to be able to control your ball flight so much better.